I'd like to welcome everybody back today. We are in Montgomery at the ADRS building, and we have Mrs. Helen Baker, Executive Director of Alabama's Assistive Technology Resource, or STAR, with us today. And we are going to be talking about access to and acquisition of assistive technology. And at this point, I'd like to hand it back over. Mrs. Baker, if you would introduce yourself.
Yes, good morning, everybody. My name is Helen Baker, and I'm the Executive Director for the STAR program. Have been for 12 years now. The STAR program has been around since 1994. I started with the program in 1997, so I have a total of 24 years now, I think, with the program that's been around for approximately 27 years. So I only missed it by a few years from the inception. So, and I'm the only one that's still left with the program. I guess that's fortunately or unfortunate, I'm not sure.
Holding strong, you're the core there.
Yeah, I am it as far as one of the second originals. All of the original ones are gone. So.
And are you originally from Alabama?
I am. I grew up in a small town outside of Tuskegee, Alabama. I went to Tuskegee Institute at that time, but it's now Tuskegee University. Got my bachelor's degree in elementary education, special ed. And from there, I went to Auburn University in Auburn and got my master's degree in rehabilitation, counseling, and vocational evaluation. So that's how I started in this field.
Yeah, we always like to ask Roll Tide or War Eagle, but it sounds like War Eagle.
War Eagle, yes. Hello, my War Eagle fans.
Now, you mentioned early childhood education. Did you ever teach in the classroom?
Well, I did some sub-teaching, and actually after my initial internship as a teacher, before becoming certified and I graduated, I had a good and a bad experience.
Yeah.
I mean, it was excellent training for me, but I just realized that teaching really wasn't the way I wanted to go. I really would love to say thank you to all the teachers, out there. Appreciate what they do. It is a job that is, really not appreciated like it should, but I just felt that it wasn't for me at the time. But I thoroughly enjoyed it and had a wonderful internship, and my teachers and the principals there did not want me.
Yep, we're checking the microphone here. We'll just reboot it. You can hear my mic. And teachers, I think, are kind of like caregivers. It takes a special person to be able to do that. I couldn't be able to do it. And
especially now. Okay, and especially in today's world, it is real difficult and challenging, to be a teacher. But I still admire it, and I still feel that I have those tendencies, and I often, practice it, of course, not in the classroom, but on my family and everybody else that I
the skills you learn there.
Yes,
yes. So tell us, give us a little bit of what STAR is for anybody that's unfamiliar with it.
Okay, and they probably will be, because STAR, just like other Assistive Technology Act programs in all the other states, is they said a hidden secret, for a lot of people with disabilities out there. That's unfortunate though, but luckily the federal government found that there was a need, for programs like STAR to exist. And actually it started in 1988 when Congress passed the Technology Related Assistance for Individuals with Disabilities Act. And it was passed at that time to create a systemic change to improve the availability of assistive technology, for people with disabilities. From that time, it was reauthorized again in 1998 as the Assistive Technology Act of 1988. And that was Public Law 105 394. Short version, it says AT Act of 1998. At that time, when it was reauthorized, it was focusing on not so much systemic change, but on capacity building and services that would allow states to conduct a lot of discretionary activities according to what their capabilities were at the time. They weren't as focused as the Act of 1988, and then as amended again in 2004. And that's basically where we are now. Currently, STAR is working from that amendment that significantly changed a lot of the legislation. The focus now is on assisting individuals with disabilities and others to have more access and acquisition of assistive technology.
Now, when we talk about assistive technology, and we're going to be talking about it quite a bit today, could you give us some examples of what an assistive technology is, or someone would use it?
I will. I have all of that information for you. But before we go into that, let me also inform you that the current act that we're working under is now called a formula grant. And that means that our program now is more solvent, because at one point they were going to discontinue it, but when the federal government found that there was still a significant gap, in the digital divide, they decided that they would make it a formula grant, which provides a portion of the funds to all of the states equally, but it's also based on population. So a lot of states do get more funding than others based on their population, size and so forth.
That makes sense to me, though.
Yeah.
If there's more people being served, then you're going to need more resources for that state.
Well, and also before I get to answer your question about examples of the technology, I would like for them to know why we exist. So the Technology Act, the Assistive Technology Act, is to support states' efforts in other states to improve the provision of assistive technology to individuals. And we do that by working with other programs within the community that will work with all ages and all disabilities, because we can't do it alone.
Yeah.
We have to have the partnerships with the community. And it has to be a consumer responsive program.
Now, when you say consumer responsive, what does that entail?
Well, consumer involvement, the consumer should be driving the whole, nature of the program and the services that we provide. And one of the ways that we do that is by performing or conducting an annual needs assessment. Sometimes it is done annually, but sometimes we miss. And we're currently in the process of doing that now, where we're submitting this to individuals with disabilities, their family members, and professionals or providers who work with caregivers who work with people with disabilities. So once we take the data and aggregate the data from the needs assessment, we like to determine what those needs are. And we look at what the needs are, what the assistive technology devices and services they need, and then we also look at what training they might need based on the needs and the technology.
I think that's awesome that you listen to the consumers and kind of adapt to what their needs are, because that may change over time. As technology gets better, some things that people needed maybe 30 years ago, they're having a lot of help with their phones now. So being responsive in that aspect. And then you hit on another aspect there, the training.
Yes.
Even if you get a new piece of, I get new technology all the time. We have a couple cameras here, and I know nothing about them. I need to be trained.
That is a big, problem, and we have found that to be so true within the school systems. We had a lot of teachers, and the IEP is a special thing now that special educators have to complete for all students, with disabilities and in the classroom. And it's been hard for them to determine what assistive technology needs the students need. So they rely on us and people in this industry and assistive technology specialists, to help them with doing assessments and evaluation to determine those needs. And when they put that in their IEP, these are accommodations that they have to include for the students and abide by those, accommodations.
Now, how does that work? Do you reach out to the schools, or does the teacher or somebody in the family put it in the IEP and then the school contacts you? Or how does that flow happen?
Well, a lot of times the calls that we're getting now, and unfortunately STAR at this moment does not have like an assistive technology specialist. That's one of my goals, future goals. What we do, we have to know what resources are available out there. So what I do when the school systems contact us, pretty much, it's a little bit different than when, like, you're a vocational rehab counselor, you go into the school systems and you're talking to the students. You already know some of, the teachers have identified some of those students that need assistance. We, on the other hand, with the STAR program, either we'll get the calls from the counselors, or the guidance counselors at school, social workers, or the special ed, coordinators from the schools. And they'll just tell us that we need this individual to have an assessment or an evaluation. And as I said, we don't have the provisions to do that, just through the STAR program, but we do make the referral to individuals that we know that can provide those assessments for them. And that also is done through the Department of Rehabilitation Services, because they do have rehab technology specialists that we refer to on a regular basis when that happens.
And we had an opportunity to have the Homewood office where they were actually building some of this assistive technology, 3D printing. It's really cool, the stuff.
There's a lot of things that they can do to accommodate, students, and also people in the work, force too. So.
Now, how many people a year would you say STAR serves?
Well, it varies. It can be 3,500 to 4,000 plus per year that we actually serve, and that's through all the programs that we have. And some of the programs that we have, either through trainings or the Reutilization Programs, which is our medical equipment program, and our short-term loan and demonstration programs. So in our alternative finance, we also have an alternative finance program. So when we, these are actual numbers.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
Yes.
It's great to have that reach and that impact.
And well, the potential impact is much, much greater than that.
Oh, yeah.
We're always looking into, over 200,000 plus a year, because we do have people that give us that feedback back that they are taking this knowledge and information, outside of, or into their arena.
Well, even like in school, if somebody sees a child that has assistive technology and they're overcoming a challenge, and they see that workflow, it can break a lot of barriers or people have about people that need extra help. So that impact goes a long way as well.
It does. It does. And we try to ask people when we provide training, different topics that they prefer, or training modules, either online or on site, because we haven't been doing much on site right now because of the pandemic, and we really do miss that aspect of training. But we ask people, potentially how many people that they serve, beyond just listening or taking this training at this point, where is this information going to go?
Yeah.
And we do get that information back, and that helps us with our numbers.
Yeah. You got to keep those numbers.
We have to keep
you
the
got to
numbers.
report them back.
Yes.
And I feel you about the online trainings. We've been doing that, for quite a while now, and everybody knows the word Zoom.
Yes.
And it's, I think it's going to be added to the dictionary. I think it's going to be the next word added to verb there, to Zoom.
Well, one thing I just want people to remember, when you're talking about the Assistive Technology Act, which STAR is, like I said, one of 56 programs. And 56 programs meaning there are all of the United States, and then there's Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia, I'm sorry, and the U.S. territories. So there's 56 of us, and we all are pretty much under the same mandate now with the new formula grant to provide certain services that we have to report on annually back to the federal, government. And they love anecdotes and pictures.
Yeah.
So
Diagrams.
tell the story.
Charts.
Well, yeah. if we can provide them. But the stories they love,
Yeah.
and they like the pictures to go along with that. So.
Those really make a big impact.
Yeah.
Now, for the state of Alabama, you contract with a lot of different entities to provide these services. For the STAR program, is there one location here in Montgomery, or are there several sites around the state?
Well, our primary central location is here, and we are under the Department of Rehabilitation Services.
And ADRS is statewide. There are offices everywhere.
Statewide, and we do a lot of collaborating with the offices across the state, because sometimes when we're distributing or delivering equipment to consumers, we utilize, some of the staff, for that, and their goings and comings to those areas. Because like you said, we are centrally located here as the core, but we subcontract with other community-based programs and a faith-based program, across the state. We try, to cover the entire state as much as we can, because we do have programs from Huntsville all the way down to Mobile, from north to south. But in one of our goals, which I'll talk about later, is to maybe expand even into, the inner state and the rural areas more.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing that a lot of people are talking about, is expanding into the rural areas. We hear it now with the internet and getting broadband, in places, and that's hit home, especially during this pandemic, because children need to be able to learn and get into these online schools.
That's true.
And they're having this dial-up connection that's really. So I think we're hearing that in a lot of different aspects, and I'm excited about that.
Well, there are a lot of federal dollars now have been put into doing that to increase the broadband, and I don't think as many people are getting on board with that to access that money to help in the rural areas, but it's getting there.
Yeah.
I just think one thing the pandemic has really just taught us a lot in terms of helping us realize where the needs are and where those gaps are, even though we knew they existed, but it really helped to broaden that.
It's kind of a pressure point. It's a good check for us. I don't want to say the pandemic was a good thing, but it brought about some things that needed to be taken care of.
That's true. That's true.
Now, when we think of the population that STAR serves, would you say that most of the assistive technology is for things that are done at the home, or more for leisure things, or more work-related, or more school-related?
Well, it's mostly for the home, because the nature of the people that we serve and who access the programs. We're serving ages, I would say seniors and older populations more. And if I had to break that down, I would say we're looking at probably 60%, are seniors and older, if they're, 35 and older, if we want to break it down to that. About 25% is like 19 and under, and this is coming from the education, aspect of it, children's needs. And then from 20 to 35, there may be like 15%.
Okay.
But
so really early on in the school, where they're getting used to it, and I think that that begs a lot for early intervention services kind of thing, and getting used to using some assistive technology, and then a little bit later on in life, also using some assistive technology.
Yes.
Kind of two ends of the spectrum.
Yes. Those just kind of blend into that. Yeah, well, I would say 25%, because the early intervention, because there's been another problem is the transitioning of the assistive technology with the student. And that has one of the goals of the ATAC program was to help with that problem, to the availability of the assistive technology that should transition with the student or the person, even if they're transitioning out of the home into work. And sometimes that doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
But
I hear that a few times with different services, or just transitioning out of high school. And making sure that that's a seamless transition to whatever that looks like. And sometimes there can be a little bit of an abrupt stop for some services, or it seems like for some families. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, because the purpose of our act is, if we talk about it, is always to, and you're increasing this, you're increasing the availability, you're increasing the funding, and you're increasing the capacity for, people to secure and maintain possession, of their assistive technology, as they transition. So that's a major problem, and that we have to overcome, barrier, I should say.
What do you think is a good way to try and tackle that?
Well, as far, I guess, it's staying in touch with the entities that you're working with. Let's say if you're, of course, one of the issues would be that students or children grow out of technology, of
Very
course,
true.
and they have to get newer technology to fit their needs and their age and size and that kind of thing. But in the other, with it's funding sources, is being aware of what sources could fund the assistive technology, whether with private insurance or Medicaid, Medicare. And then also we let people know that we have a program, the Alternative Finance Program, that will help.
We'll
people
talk about
purchase.
that in a little bit. I
Okay.
don't want to jump ahead there.
All right.
I do want to acknowledge chat here. Sherry Glenn Henderson says, hi, Ms. Helen.
Okay.
And Kim Spangler. Kim, I'm going to give this a shot here. Each year we were faced with an entirely new set of people who needed to get trained on assistive tech we were trying to use with our son. We experienced a great deal of disruption to services because from one year to the next, especially within 6th grade and up, where a student has multiple teachers in a day, because not enough general ed teachers are trained to use adaptive tech, and not enough special aides are hired to assist within the gen ed classroom. So this was quite problematic for them in the school system. Are there any efforts underway to train the gen ed staff on these special accommodations? And then most universities are creating a collaborative ed degree for this reason. Any state-funded aid agendas here? If it's this, how is the issue getting acknowledged through this grant? So I think it's, is there efforts to?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the things that I have done is really approached one of the universities here to actually incorporate a curriculum that will train, hopefully attract and train more people to help resolve this issue, because it is a problem, especially in Alabama. I've had many issues just trying to find an assistive technology specialist, or someone who could help with the training and intervene and help general ed, the teachers as well. And I've also spoken with, and they're very, very receptive to this, and that is in the works, as we're going to follow up with that. There are a lot of things that we got to look at in terms of the credentialing and certification, and we're going to be talking to Resna about that. We're also in the beginning discussions about with special ed here in Alabama, the assistive technology contact that we have. This just recently, came up a few weeks ago, and they brought it to my attention that this is one of the problems, definitely in the school systems. And my question to them was, well, do you have a certified appointed person within the state of Alabama to provide or conduct evaluations and assessments and do training, on certain types of equipment? And the question was answered like, sort of, but no, not really. And I thought, okay, good. We need to know that, because that's why we want to maybe attract someone here to help with that. And hopefully, we'll be able to remedy that problem. So we're working on that right now. But as it stands, STAR does not have a certified person at this point, and we have to make the referrals for the teachers. And it's a dilemma for us too, that when they call us, we want to help them and we want to make sure that we refer them, and we do that. We do not leave them hanging and say we're not going to just ignore this request. So we do put them in touch with someone to help. with the situation, whether it's training or an evaluation or an assessment. We get it done.
I imagine that the families and the individuals, the children, would really enjoy that, because to go and having to introduce 4 or 5 teachers to it every year and train them on it, they could use some help there. So I could see what Mrs. Spengler is saying there.
Well, and I loved it. Well, back in pre-pandemic days when we were talking to teachers and bringing in specialists, like doing their in-service training, they would take the time and just let us come in and train them for a day. And we really appreciated that, because they could be doing other things on their in-service training days.
Yeah, I don't understand why we don't have it as like a statewide thing where the teachers have to get certified in some assistive tech and every gen ed thing. I feel like that would be, and even in colleges, I don't even know if to become a teacher, if you have to have assistive tech.
Well, I think that's going to be changing.
Yeah.
And like I said, there is a lot of interest right now. And I know one of the schools here, not just one, but I know in North Alabama there was some interest, and then right here in Montgomery. So we hope to be, and then now one of my co-workers in Birmingham said that he had been talking to someone there at UAB.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to somewhat get a collaboration going, and so that we'll get these curriculums into the school, to the universities, so that we'll have more people trained within the state. And then once they leave that training, we can hopefully flood the school districts, and people won't just leave us, or there'll be a need for them to stay. Whereas it's difficult now to even get to attract anyone to move to Alabama, who has that specialization.
I think Alabama is becoming more attractive for people moving here. I live outside Birmingham, and it's growing considerably. I think we're starting to see more people move into the city in Birmingham, and then Huntsville is. I've heard it's the smartest city in the country. It's most PhDs, most doctorates per capita.
Sure.
But I love that school collaboration there. We in Homewood, we were talking with the Assistive Tech, the gentlemen that make that, and they said they collabed with UAB and some of the colleges to have some of the engineering students design, tinker with some products. And they said it was the first time that the engineering students thought, how do we design something for someone that has these challenges, and it kind of opened up their world for them. So I love that, hitting those students at a young age to show them that there are things out there like this.
Well, one thing about Alabama, we are kind of different than some states with the AT program, for us, STAR, is that we do have that collaboration with the Department of Rehab Services, RTSs. A lot of the states have to hire rehab technology specialists to do all of that, or to farm that service out. But we are kind of fortunate here. That's why I say when a lot of the teachers call us, and I know we can't directly do that, provide as a service for STAR, but I know who can.
Yeah.
So I make those referrals. So, and that's basically what we do. We kind of guide people through the process.
Yeah, and people need that. They're unfamiliar with the path, and so it's kind of leading them a little bit. Now, we've been talking about assistive technology. What the heck is an example of one?
Oh, you know there are plenty.
I know there is quite a few, but for anybody that's unfamiliar, we throw around the word AT, assistive tech. What?
Assistive tech. Well, okay, let me go back and first give you my definition. And according to the law that STAR operates under the Technology Act, assistive technology devices are products, devices, or equipment, whether it's acquired commercially, it's modified, or customized, that are used to maintain, increase, or improve the functional capabilities of individuals with disabilities. So that means it's any device. You can take it off the shelf, you can customize it, make it yourself, and as long as that device improves or increases that ability for that person to perform a task that he would not be able to perform without it.
So I feel like there's such a wide range there. It could be anything from, like a hammer helping someone nail in a nail, all the way to, computer programs.
Well, I sometimes when I give presentation, I will point to glasses.
Yeah.
So what do you think that is? You know, then and people thought, oh yeah, they think of it that way. But eyeglasses. You're talking about now a lot of software, adaptive software to computers, and AAC devices. I don't know if you heard of augmentative communication devices that would help people to speak and communicate.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Magnifying glasses, adaptive switches and toys. There are a lot of children out there that want to be on an equal playing level with the quote normal children. So there are a lot of toys now that have been adapted for them to do that, to play. Books on tapes, like for people who are visually impaired, and different types of formatting of text, for the
Like a braille, or
yes.
you can do that. Yeah.
Yes. People who are deaf, hard of hearing, there you have TTYs, TTDs. Never heard the Ubiduo is another device that if he has one, Clifton has one, I have one, that we could communicate with each other, that way. Environmental control units, like if you want to open up your garage, turn on your lights in your home, your television, things of that nature. That's under ECU or environmental control units. Mobility equipment like scooters and wheelchairs and walkers, lifts and ramps. I mean, you've seen cars that have this wheelchair in the back of their car and then a lift. So people do that when they can't afford, maybe getting an adaptive vehicle, like vans.
They're expensive.
They're very expensive,
Yeah.
very expensive. But those are just some. I mean, that's,
I feel like there's an endless list there, and when you're
very-
talking about this, the word tool comes to mind. It's a tool, like glasses can be a tool,
Right.
and it's just like an extension of ourselves. Like glasses are an extension for your eyes; they help you see in a certain way. Or cars or wheelchairs are an extension of our legs; they help us get around.
That's right.
So when you're going through these examples, it made me think of tools and extensions of ourselves.
in any aspect of your life. It could be at home, school, work, play, we're talking about leisure, activities and so forth. And one thing, like the two focuses of our grant is having access to and an acquisition of. When you're talking access to, you're just increasing awareness, you're letting them know what's out there, and like resources and vendors and that kind of thing. But the main thing is acquiring the AT.
Yeah.
How they're going to get it. I mean, you can, there can be an abundance of ways that you can access it and know what they are, but how do you get it?
Yeah.
And so that's the acquisition piece that we have. The biggest problem with is helping people find the funding resources, and vendors that will work with them, to get those devices.
Let's talk about that. I'm going to skip over the evals for now, and let's talk about the funding
Okay.
behind that. You said that's a big challenge for a lot of individuals and families.
Funding, yeah, for most people, it is. A lot of people that come to us, they have, sometimes there's income is kind of diminished depending on the source of income that they have. Some have to quit their jobs and rely on, supplemental, income, maybe from the government or whatever. Some have some credit issues because they have medical bills, hospital bills that they can't pay. So this has affected, their ability to get, have good credit to purchase a lot of the equipment that they need. In addition to just not having the money, but just not having the credit to get the funding as well. So a lot of people don't have private insurance. They may only pay for, certain things. And I always tell people, try to read the fine print and see, you never know. And it's good to have dual coverage. Sometimes if you have Medicare or Medicaid, you can sometimes get equipment fully covered that way. But we have a lot of individuals that come to us and they may only have one or the other, and they can't afford the copay. So, and the copay is out of their range financially. So that's when we refer a lot of people also to our alternative financial loan program.
And we're talking about the cost of some of these assistive technologies. And when we talk about magnifying glasses and stuff, I don't think these would be outrageous costs, but then we also have having an adaptive van and a mobile wheelchair that can get up in there. And these things can get up into $80,000, $100,000 pretty quick.
Yes. Vehicles, and with our, I don't know if you weren't ready for me to talk about the alternative finance program right now. But
Sure, we can go into it.
It is a program that Alabamians, you have to be a resident of Alabama, of course, and have a disability or a need, family member or guardian, or someone who can apply for the loan for you if you're not in a position to get it, on your own. You have a co-signer. That program started for us in 1996. And it is a way for individuals to get a low interest or extended loan that typically, a bank, would not allow. So that make your payments a little bit more, doable. And right now we have two interest rates. It's a 4% and a 6% interest rate. Some states have rates that are a little bit lower. Some I've seen as low as 2%.
Why the difference in interest rates there?
With other states or here?
Between the 4 and the 6?
That's the some criteria that the program sets depending on the applicant's status. We have a coordinator that really looks into all of that and decides, which category this person, would benefit from.
I'll kind of put you on the spot. How's the repayment of the loans versus
the
defaulting?
loans? The loans are guaranteed. We do utilize the Auburn Bank as our the guarantees to the loan, but it's the Southern Disability Foundation that they guarantee the loan, but we utilize the Auburn Bank in terms of for the financing, part of it.
And it's very nice that they work with you. So, if you're struggling a little bit for the month or...
Well, the Southern Disability Foundation has been with us as a partner with us since 1996. They have a website as well. It's www.sdfalabama.com. So you would go to that website. It'll give you a lot of information about how to apply, who's eligible. Their minimum loan right now is like $1,000.
Okay.
And we're glad about that because a lot of people can, don't have $1,000, but yet we can diversify our loans more, by making smaller loans sometimes. The maximum is like $35,000, except for with the vehicle.
Yeah.
The vehicle is up to $45,000.
Okay.
The adaptive vehicles. And if they access that program as well, it will give them some information on financial literacy training that will help people too if they want to improve their credit, and how establish maybe savings if they want to put down payment or something.
Yeah, that's a great program. Yeah. With the cars, do they have to be new or can they be used? Or
they can be used.
They can be used.
They can be, and majority of the vehicles that are purchased through this program are used.
Okay.
You can rarely buy a brand new vehicle sometimes for $45,000 unless it's some of the smaller versions, but most of them are 60, 65 and up and more. Depends on the customization that needs to be done, adaptations and so forth.
Now, is this program just for individuals or can providers utilize this program as well?
It's for individuals or like family members.
Okay.
I think we've had let's say a church or someone that maybe want to buy, if they have a lot of people, if they transporting someone back and forth, to purchase, vehicle like that.
Yeah.
So we have had that to happen. Okay. But we have a lot of people that have to have co-signers, for it. They extend the terms out, like I said, longer than a bank would traditionally. to make the payments a lot easier. And also one other perk with that is that they provide, say if a family has difficulty making a payment for 1 month, they have what they call the, what they call that, respite payment.
Okay. Kind of stepping in there and helping out. Yeah. I have a question about wheelchairs. I heard this, and I don't know if it's a myth, but if someone's on Medicare, Medicaid, will that insurance pay for a wheelchair every 10 years?
I heard it was 10, but they said it's back to 5 years.
Oh,
I'm
really?
not
So
sure.
every 5 years they'll pay for a new wheelchair.
Supposedly, yes. So.
I have a family member that's going to need a new wheelchair in the upcoming years, and we just had to replace her normal one that we use to push her around when we were in the community. And I thought about asking insurance to pay for that, and then I was like, well, these are a little bit cheaper wheelchairs. I don't want to use that insurance expense on this one. I want to wait till she needs a bigger one to do that. And I was wondering if she only gets one every 10 years
Well, I guess that I need to get some more verification on, but I've used 10 years, but I heard it's still at 5 years.
Okay.
But the thing is, getting a lot of people to go through the paperwork to do that, they don't, I don't know if they don't want to go through the red tape of doing it. And that's leading me up to the program that we have now called the Reutilization Program, because we have a lot of people that call us and want wheelchairs and hospital beds and things like that. And we know that Medicare, Medicaid will pay for them even within that time frame. But some of them tear their chairs up before then. That happens, and they won't get any further services from Medicaid until the designated time. So they'll come to us. But some are well beyond that time frame to get a chair, and we try to encourage them to go ahead and do the paperwork, especially if it's a used chair. And I will tell them, don't you want a brand new chair as opposed to a used one? And I said, but we don't mind, and this is what we're here for. We'll give you, loan you the used chair free of charge until you get your new one. But if you get your new one, you can just return this one back to us and we'll give it to someone else.
I think that's amazing, because sometimes people outgrow some of the things they need, and other people could use them. So do they donate these?
Our reutilization program, to tell you the truth, is our biggest program, and that works with all ATAC programs all across the nation. The reutilization program is the biggest program that helps more people. Last year, we saved consumers $1.4 million out of pocket.
And that's just in Alabama.
And just in Alabama.
Wow.
And we have in the past saved them 1.8 million. We've gone down a little bit over the years, and it could be because we met some of the demands. Demands may be a little bit smaller, but in spite of COVID last year, we saved consumers more money doing this program than before. COVID.
The word recycling comes back to mind, and in a very positive way, that someone doesn't need this assistive tech anymore, and somebody else could use it. It's kind of a handing down. My brothers know about that quite well. I would hand them down things that I was, and it's still great to use.
Well, it's the most popular program. People they think, I didn't know that this existed.
Yeah.
And then when they come to us and we say, you can have this chair, and then they say, what do I owe you?
I have to put a card on file.
They say, what? It's free. It's free, and you keep it as long as you need it. You only return it when you don't need it. And we're looking at the return percent here, probably no more than I would say maybe less than 5% that might return anything. And when they do, it's not in the best condition. That we could even reuse it. But it is a wonderful program. We have an inventory as well that's on a website that is www.al.atforall.com.
Yes,
That's
okay.
our AT for All website.
Yeah. And there's an inventory, so you can go on there, and if it's available there, do you book through the website, or do you give you a call?
They can request it,
Okay.
you through the website, and we get a notification that they have requested that item. They can also post, like I said, if they need an item, they can post that on the website as well. And we get that notification that if John Smith is looking for, or Stander or something like that, But they have access to all the 5 programs that we have across the state. And we have one in Huntsville, Birmingham, Montgomery, Dothan, and Mobile.
Gotcha.
And that's why we're looking to hopefully expand when we can get more funding into the Black Belt rural areas and some of the other underserved areas.
I have a question. I have a few of my family members' wheelchairs that I'm not very good at fixing things. I'll be the first one to say that. Mm-hmm. But they have minor things that are wrong with them. Do you guys take equipment such as that and kind of tinker them with, because they're great otherwise, but it might need a little bit of welding or something like that?
Well, we used to tell people that when we first started, people would call us for any and everything, and that's because they're trying to clean out their garage.
You probably get a lot of calls in the springtime when people are.
But I mean, it's the best kept secret that we have, because a lot of people say, I didn't know you existed, and I have all this equipment in my storage house, and I don't know what to do with it. And we thought, we'll take it off your hands. But sometimes when we used to go out there and look at it, we thought, oh no, it was either rusted and old, we couldn't find parts for it. But we would take some equipment because we could utilize some parts and put it on another piece of equipment. But lately, within the last, I would say, 5 years for sure, we have been getting a lot of nice reused equipment.
Okay.
Sometimes it's even brand new, because unfortunately, an individual, a consumer, would have had new equipment to come in and they weren't able to use it before, passing on. And the family would call us and say, please come and get it. And we will pick it up. Now, there are times when we can't, and we have to ask them to deliver it, depending on the location and if we have transportation to pick up and deliver. But most of the equipment we have gotten recently has been very well. And we tell them, gently used, that kind of thing. We also sanitize the equipment when we get it. And now, during COVID, we're doing a lot of curbside services, but some of the staff is going into the homes, with the social distancing and, mask and that kind of thing. They have no choice, because some people that call us and say, I have this hospital bed, I have no clue how to get it out of my house,
Yeah.
So, and they just, it's not, I guess, taking a risk, but they practice social distancing and help the family. I mean, we get nice things like lift chairs, which people need and ask for all the time. And for my listening audience, if they know of anyone who will really donate, we need power. We need power wheelchairs, we need manual wheelchairs, and we can never get enough of shower chairs. When they come in the door, they're gone. So, and lately too, and I don't know what we can relate this to, I don't know if it's climate change or, something going on in the atmosphere, but there are a lot of people requesting nebulizers and CPAPs and BiPAP machines, and there are a lot of people out there that have a lot of sleeping disorders, so.
I think that's going to be a thing in the future as well, the CPAP. I've thought about getting a CPAP, and I don't really struggle with waking up in the middle of the night so much, but you spend about a third of your life sleeping, and the oxygen replenishes your body there, and it's almost like a hidden secret there. If you can get more oxygen while you sleep, you wake up better. I think we're going to see that more and more people are using CPAPs.
That is happening a lot now.
Yeah.
That's happening a lot.
So if anybody's cleaning out their garage this weekend, don't throw it away. Give Mrs. Baker a call. She'll set something up and have somebody come out to the house, and so somebody else can reutilize that.
That's right. That's right. Especially when you're talking about the lift chairs, we've had people that couldn't sleep in beds and they have to sleep in lift chairs. So it's been like a lifesaver. We also, one instance, we had a lift chair that we utilized 3 times. That same lift chair.
That's a good lift
Went
chair.
to-
You want to give a shout out to the manufacturers of that lift chair?
It was a pretty good chair, right? Yeah.
Now, how does someone get in contact with Star and you?
Well, we have a 800 number that they can give us a call at 1-800-782-7656, or they can go to the website, via ADRS, and they can get a Star, ADRS, Alabama rehab.alabama//star. /star.
We'll put it in the chat.
Yeah.
That way people can do it there.
Right.
And as we kind of come to a close here, I want to ask, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you think an individual or a family would benefit from hearing?
Well, I would say our next step. So what we're planning
I
to do.
skipped over that. I apologize. Yes.
Oh, no, you're fine. Our next steps, what we want to do and trying to do right now is implement a demonstration. It's assistive technology demonstration and lending library. This is one of the mandates from the federal government. We've done this in the past, but we have had to, reinstate these programs after losing them for a while, and we're working on that right now. And so what that means is the demonstration program means that people will have access to different products and devices. Hopefully these devices or what we have obtained from the needs assessment, they're telling us this is what, Alabamians need right now. So we want to try to have an inventory of those devices within the lending library that could be also used for demonstrations. And then that means that they will have to see how the product works, and they may see several products, not just one, so that they be able to make a more informed choice about what would fit their needs best. And then the next step would be maybe loaning that device to them. That's why we call it the lending library. Loaning that device to them so that they can try it before they buy it, and not end up with something that they can't use, down the road. So we're looking to do that, and housing, getting an inventory of that. We also want to do some customized training, like we alluded to before, like with the teachers and consumers and caregivers. We want to do more of that, and we also have a training needs assessment out there that we're waiting to get the results back from that to determine what those training topics and needs, will be. As most programs do, we want to try to leverage our funding. So hopefully, if there's anybody listening out there and they know someone who have some deep pockets and they're rich, we need some funding to expand, our programs and services. One of the we're looking at going to the state legislature for one and writing some grants, but any donations and contributions would be accepted, and we really will appreciate that. We're also going to concentrate on expanding services, as we mentioned, in the rural areas and underserved. And that could be with the more reuse centers, and also providing more training and technical assistance in those areas. One of my goals is to try to hire an ATS, an assistive technology specialist, or an ATP, assistive technologist practitioner, to help us, managing the library, once we get and the demo and loan programs, and providing the evals and the assessments that's being requested now, across the state. So we have that person in place in that lending library. We think it's going to really improve the services that the STAR program.
When you were talking about that library and the demoing, it made me think of almost like a job fair where you could walk and see the different tables and people would introduce you to it. It wouldn't have to do with it being getting a job, but it would be different technology there
Right.
that someone would be demoing, and then they'd let you try it out for a few days before you purchased it.
Right.
Are you going?
And that's up to 30 days if they need it, and sometimes they give an extension beyond that.
Are you going to bring in the manufacturers or the distributors into that process as well?
Oh, yes, definitely. The
Yeah.
vendors will come in. They will
Vendors.
even loan the devices to you for a certain period of time, and then they'll discount the prices, of the device if you decide to keep it. But that's giving them a lot of exposure too.
Yeah.
So we get calls all the time. They think they're ready to go with it.
Yeah, it sounds like a big convention
Yeah.
that you could do
Yeah.
for over a weekend.
And we
or
did it
something.
a lot at conferences and all in the past when we were doing face-to-face.
Yeah.
We would have a table or booth set up, where people can look at some of the devices.
Have you ever gone down to the one in Mobile? We were at that conference and did some recordings, but there was a wheelchair that was actually really cool. You could stand up in it, so it would sit down and then you could bring it up if you wanted to be, fully upright there.
What was the conference? I've seen it, I'm sure.
It was down not in Mobile. It was at Orange Beach. I forget
Oh.
which hotel it was at.
Okay.
But we went down there and did some breakout sessions, broadcast some breakout sessions.
We've had the disability, I forget the name of it. They have their conference there before. Yeah, we try to attend all of those. And AT Expos, I
Yeah.
mean, we can't wait to get back into being able to do some of that.
I talked to somebody the other day, a mom, and she was saying it kind of feels like we're getting back a little bit. She was out and about. There was a barbecue, in downtown, and she's like, I feel like we're kind of coming back a little bit. And it was exciting to hear that.
It is, yeah, we are. We're coming back a little bit.
I'm
But
keeping my
I just
fingers
don't want
crossed.
people to put let their guards down just yet, though.
I'm getting my second COVID shot in the beginning of May 4th. May the 4th be with you. So then I'll be done.
Well, I've had both of mine.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't have any symptoms. So I thank God for that. But
My arm hurt on my first one. I couldn't sleep on my right side.
oh, really?
Yeah, it
Well,
hurt.
the second one did produce a little pain, and I had the shot in the same arm. But that's all I had was a little soreness. And I said it was just because of how they stuck me. I
Yeah.
said that person.
See, I hate needles. I don't have any tattoos. I hate needles, and I always whine when I get a shot.
Yeah.
But my family member got her second shot, and she was throwing up for like a day and was real sleepy. But I've heard it affects everybody different.
I've heard people been in bed for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it.
One of my physical therapists told me she had one of the shots. Well, I won't say which one, doesn't matter. But
Yeah.
anyway, and she said her second one put her in bed for 3 days.
Kind of wiped her out a little bit.
Yeah, she couldn't eat. She was feverish. She was cold, and and she was still what they call fatigued. She said
Yeah.
it just left her just really
I'll take
tired.
I'll take 3-4 days of being in bed than actually getting.
Well, it beats the alternative.
Exactly.
Dead or alive.
Yeah, I'll take 3 days of sitting in a bed just drinking.
Yeah,
water.
I mean, I'm glad I took it. I'll have no repercussions from that, or no skepticism. I mean, it's done.
Yeah, feels good. I'm gonna feel really good.
I feel better, and I feel safer to be around other people, and I just hope other people will do the same. So that.
Well, you missed it. Miss Baker came in here and just started coughing and sneezing on us. She's like, "Oh, it's okay. I've had both vaccines." I joke.
Well, look, I just if we're ending this, I just want to leave. I always tell people when I do conferences and all, I have this quote when it comes to assistive technology, and it says, for most people, technology makes things easier. For people with disabilities, technology makes things possible. Okay.
That's a big thing there because it opens up doors.
Big difference.
Yeah.
We don't think about it, but we as quote normal body people, we use technology every day because it does make things easier for us. But we don't think about that, what the struggles and the problems and the barriers that people with disabilities have to overcome,
Take it for granted a little bit.
without having access to the technology that they need. So, and that's what we're here for.
Well, Ms. Baker, I appreciate you spending the afternoon with us here, the morning and into the afternoon. and spreading the awareness of what STAR does here in
Well,
Alabama.
it's been a pleasure, and I hope people will spread the word and send them to us, because I'm tired of hearing people say, we didn't know you existed, STAR, what's that, but we've been around, like I said, since 1994, and looks like we're not going anywhere soon. I think I might be gone before the program.
I wasn't going to bring it up. At this point, I'll go ahead and end the live stream here. Once again, we appreciate you being with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you, audience.